Welcome to The Language Key, the podcast that helps you unlock the secrets of learning languages and mastering English. Whether you're a beginner, an advanced learner, or just someone curious about language learning, you're in the right place. Now, let me ask you something. Why do some people seem to learn languages effortlessly, while others struggle for years? Is it just natural talent, or is there a secret formula? Maybe you've been studying English for months, even years, but when it's time to speak, your mind goes blank. You've memorized tons of words, studied grammar rules, and listened to native speakers, yet somehow, fluency still feels out of reach. Sound familiar? Well, you're not alone. The truth is, learning a language isn't about having a good memory. It's about using the right strategies. And that's exactly what we'll explore today. In this episode, we'll break down how the brain learns languages, why English is so tricky, even for native speakers, the best strategies to improve faster and smarter. So, if you're ready to level up your language skills, stick with me. We're about to unlock the secrets of language learning. First, let's talk about the science behind learning a language. How does the brain actually acquire a foreign language? Research shows that language learning isn't just about memorizing words. It's about creating and strengthening neural connections in the brain. When you start learning a new language, your brain rewires itself, forming new pathways to process, store, and recall information. The more you practice, the stronger these connections become, making the language feel more natural over time. Think of your brain as a dense jungle. At first, learning a new language is like pushing through thick, tangled bushes. It's slow, frustrating, and confusing. But every time you practice, whether by listening, speaking, reading, or writing, you carve a clearer path. Over time, that narrow trail transforms into a smooth, open road, allowing your thoughts to flow effortlessly in your new language. But why do some people learn faster than others? Age matters, but not that much. Children absorb languages naturally, but adults have an advantage too. We can learn strategically. With the right techniques, practice, and mindset, fluency is possible at any age. Exposure is everything. Have you ever noticed how people who move to a foreign country often become fluent within months? That's because constant exposure forces their brains to adapt quickly. The more you immerse yourself in a language, through music, movies, conversations, or daily habits, the faster you'll learn. Confidence and attitude. Your biggest obstacle isn't grammar, it's fear. Many learners hesitate to speak because they are afraid of making mistakes. But mistakes are a crucial part of the learning process. The more comfortable you become with trial and error, the faster you'll build fluency and confidence. Now, let's talk about English. If you're learning it as a second language, you've probably already realized it's weird. English is full of strange rules, inconsistent pronunciations, and endless exceptions. So, why is it so tricky? Spelling versus pronunciation. In many languages, words are pronounced the way they are written. But in English, not so much. Think about these words, through, though, tough, and thought. They all look similar, but each one is pronounced differently. No wonder English learners get frustrated. And it's not just spelling. Silent letters, like the K in knife or the B in comb, make pronunciation even trickier. English pronunciation rules have so many exceptions that even native speakers get confused sometimes. Phrasal verbs are everywhere. Think about it: put off, give up, run into. These small word combinations completely change meaning. If someone tells you to give up, they don't mean give something upwards, they mean quit. The problem is, phrasal verbs are everywhere. Native speakers use them in daily conversations without thinking, which can make English sound like a secret code to learners. And to make it even more confusing, one phrasal verb can have multiple meanings. For example, take off can mean removing clothes, an aeroplane leaving the ground, or something becoming successful. Word order and sentence structure. English has strict word order rules. A small change in sentence structure can completely change the meaning. For example, I only eat vegetables on Tuesdays. I don't eat anything else on Tuesdays. I eat only vegetables on Tuesdays. I eat vegetables every day, but on Tuesdays, that's all I eat. Even small shifts in word order can cause misunderstandings. In many languages, you can move words around more freely, but in English, changing the order can change the entire sentence's meaning. Idioms and slang. Ever heard an English speaker say, "It's raining cats and dogs"? Or maybe someone told you to break a leg before a performance. English is packed with idioms that don't translate literally. Native speakers often use idioms in casual conversations, making it even harder for learners to understand. If you don't know an idiom's meaning, the sentence might make no sense. And then there's slang, words like gonna, wanna, or lit, which change depending on trends and regions. Even native speakers from different English-speaking countries sometimes struggle with slang from other regions. But don't worry. English is challenging, but it's not impossible. With the right strategies, patience, and practice, you can master it. Now that we understand the challenges, how can we learn more effectively? Here are some of the best strategies used by successful language learners. 1. Immerse yourself in the language. The more you hear and see a language, the faster you'll learn. Try watching TV shows, listening to podcasts, and reading books in English, even if you don't understand everything. Your brain is constantly picking up patterns, pronunciation, and sentence structures. Start small. Watch English movies with subtitles in your native language. Listen to short English news clips daily. Follow social media accounts in English. Over time, switch to English subtitles and then try watching without them. The more exposure you get, the more natural the language will feel. 2. Speak as much as possible. Speaking is the most important skill, but also the hardest to practice. Many learners hesitate because they are afraid of making mistakes, but mistakes are how you learn. Find a language partner online or in your city. Join language exchange groups or English-speaking clubs. Practice shadowing. Listen to a native speaker and repeat what they say immediately. Talk to yourself in the mirror or record your voice and listen back. The key is to use the language actively. The more you speak, the more confident and fluent you'll become. 3. Think in English, or your target language. Many learners translate everything in their heads before speaking, which slows them down. Instead, try to think directly in English. Start with simple thoughts. I need to buy milk. Tomorrow is Monday. Describe what you're doing. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm making tea. Try keeping a short daily journal in English. At first, it might feel unnatural, but with practice, your brain will start processing English faster, just like a native speaker. 4. Use spaced repetition for vocabulary. Instead of memorizing long word lists in one day, use spaced repetition. This technique helps you remember words long-term by reviewing them at the right time, just before you forget them. Use apps like Anki, Quizlet, or Memorized to review vocabulary efficiently. Create flashcards with example sentences, not just single words. Review new words every few days instead of all at once. Spaced repetition makes learning more effective and less stressful. 5. Learn with context, not just rules. Grammar books are helpful, but real learning happens when you see grammar and vocabulary in action. Read English articles, blogs, or even comic books to see grammar in natural use. Listen to native speakers in interviews or podcasts and notice sentence structures. Instead of memorizing past tense rules, pay attention to how people actually use them in stories and conversations. When you learn grammar in context, it feels more natural and is easier to remember. 6. Have fun with the language. Language learning doesn't have to be boring. The more enjoyable your practice, the faster you'll improve. Play word games, crosswords, or mobile language learning apps. Write short stories, poems, or even social media posts in English. Sing along to English songs or watch funny YouTube videos in English. Change your phone and social media settings to English. The more you enjoy the process, the more motivated you'll be to keep learning. Alright, it's challenge time. If you're serious about learning a language, let's put today's strategies into action with a 1-week challenge. Step 1. Pick any new method from today's episode. You don't need to try everything at once, just choose one technique. Maybe you'll start thinking in English. Speak out loud every day. Use spaced repetition for vocabulary. Watch an English show with subtitles. Whatever you choose, make it something that excites you. Step 2. Practice it every day for the next 7 days. Commit to using your chosen method daily. Even 10 to 15 minutes a day can make a difference. Consistency is the key to improvement. Step 3. Track your progress and see how much you improve. Keep a simple record, write down new words, record a short voice message, or reflect on what felt easier each day. By the end of the week, you'll be amazed at your progress. Final reminder. Language learning isn't a race, it's a journey. Don't stress about mistakes. Instead, celebrate your small wins and enjoy the process. You're already one step closer to fluency. And that's a wrap for today's episode. We've explored how the brain learns languages, why English can be tricky, and the best strategies to improve. But remember, language learning is personal, and everyone's journey is different. Now, I want to hear from you. What's your biggest struggle in learning a foreign language? What's one method that has helped you the most? Whether it's pronunciation, grammar, confidence, or something else, let's talk about it. Drop a comment below to share your thoughts on this podcast. I'd love to hear your story. Enjoyed this episode? If you found it helpful, follow, share, and rate this podcast. Your support helps more language learners around the world get the motivation and tools they need to succeed. Final thought. Language learning isn't just about words. It's about connecting with people, cultures, and new ideas. So, keep learning, stay curious, and most importantly, have fun. See you next time for another deep dive into the fascinating world of languages.